Time is approximately forever.
Cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
Please continue to hold for the next available representative.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo.
We appreciate you waiting and waiting. What is it you're waiting for? Do you even know anymore?
These are people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Disconnected.
Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new live stream. It's been about a week, but we are here, we are live, we are ready to go, so make sure you guys like that like button. We're about 37 away from the number that you all know that we have to hit before that face cam can turn on, so make sure you guys hit that like button. We have a lot to talk about tonight. There's been a lot of Democrat stupidity. Democrats are dying on the worst hills possible. Are they possibly leading the Republicans and Donald Trump to yet another possible election victory in 2026? What about 2028? Do they have a possible contender, or are they in complete disarray? We'll be talking about all of this and more, but make sure you guys like the stream. Before we get started, we are almost to 100 likes, so like the stream as people pour in, because we do have a lot to talk about. The Democrats have lost their mind. They're dying on the worst hills imaginable. And we already thought they were doing that until they find a worse hill to die on than they already have died on. And are the American people going to buy it, or are they not? So we're going to have to talk about that, because so many people just don't get it. So many people on the right are kind of just, they have like this instinctual tendency to buy into this hysteria, the stupidity out of, I don't know if it's cognitive dissonance, I don't know what it is, but it is ridiculous. It does need to stop. And so some people might disagree with certain things I say, but it's like most people here get it, and that's a good thing. So make sure you guys like the stream. We're one like away. Let's get to triple digits before we get started because we have a lot to talk about. And I think everybody knows the elephant in the room, and it starts in this El Salvador debacle. So we will start it. We did hit the target. We're going to have a quick water sip, and then we're going to get going here. So like the stream if you haven't. Join that bandwagon. Subscribe if you're new. Let's go. Okay, so we're here. We're back. And you have so many people on the left in the media, and they're operating under this lens of hysteria about something that should not concern the average American. And you have a person who is not a U.S. citizen. He is a citizen of El Salvador. It's a nation in Central America. It was a very violent nation until it was taken over by Nayib Bukele, who decided to go in there and actually lay the hammer down. And what he was able to do is put a lot of people in prison, just make sure that he got the criminals off the streets and made sure that his, country would actually be functional. And it's been much more functional than ever. He is a great leader. He's done a great job in El Salvador. And what you do have is you have Donald Trump trying to deport back some people to El Salvador. There was that whole scuffle before the election. Trump mentioned El Salvador was sending their prisoners to the United States in his RNC speech. He said, I don't blame their leader, but, I like the guy, but it is true that they're sending some people into the U.S., and whether he was doing it deliberately or they were just pushing out people who came into the U.S. via the southern border or whatever, it's besides the point. I don't care what Bukele does. If he wants to expel criminals by any means necessary, I get it. I do. I blame our leadership for being weak, for being stupid, for causing this crisis at our southern border. And what it has done is it's caused 10 million people within that number, within that range, to come into this country illegally. Many of these people are criminals. And what has it exactly done? It's led us to be the dumping ground for the third world, the rest of the world's problems. And when you look at something like this, you have one person who is a legal resident. He's not a citizen, but he's like a legal resident. He's like on a visa or something. And he comes in from El Salvador, that same country. He's Salvadorian. He lives in Maryland. He lives in the DMV area. A lot of Salvadorians live in the DMV area. And this is a guy who is under investigation for domestic abuse. His own wife filed a civil suit against him for domestic abuse. That is not something that we would like from people that are in our country. We don't like wife beaters in our country. I don't care if they got a little green card. They're not citizens. I don't care if they happen to be in our country. Those type of people, we probably should get them out. I don't think it's controversial to say. If somebody's in this country beating their wife, a part of a gang, then they should leave the country. We could talk about due process or whatever. That's not the point. We'll get to that in a second. But you have this guy who's been arrested with other members who have tattoos of MS-13. He's running with MS-13. So whether this guy's a part of MS-13 or not, he's not a citizen. He's running with gang members. He's wearing attire that is common of gang members. He's never been to Chicago. He's wearing a Chicago Bulls hat. Okay, is he just a big fan of Michael Jordan, or is he running with MS-13 and that's like part of their attire? Like, it's just common sense. Use your brain for a second before you sit here and lecture people about the principles that they're supposed to have, about due process and everything. The founding fathers that wrote the Constitution, if they knew that there'd be this guy who's in this country as an immigrant, whether he's legal or not is irrelevant, and he's beating his wife, and he's in a violent gang, or runs with people in a violent gang, the same violent gang that kills many people in America every year, and they don't just kill them normally. I mean, I don't want to use the term normally. It's not a normal thing to kill people, obviously, but like they chop up their victims. These are depraved people. MS-13, Mara Salvuchera, whatever they call it. I don't know. You have several names for these gangs. You have MS-13. You have Tren de Aragua. You got a lot of these gangs south of the border. They come into the U.S., and he's running with these people. If anybody who was involved or even alive at the time the Constitution and due process and all these things were being written and enshrined into, the American law at the time of our founding. If any of the people involved, because we talk about original intent, if any of the people who were involved in that knew about the concept of this individual who was out there committing domestic abuse, allegedly, and was involved with these terrorist gangs, the founding fathers would say, I don't care, we're going to kick him out. I don't care what this piece of paper says. That's what they would do. So why should we treat it any differently? Oh, but the Supreme Court, I don't care. The Supreme Court makes a lot of mistakes. I like a lot of justices on our court. I respect them, mainly Thomas and Alito. The others are a little bit iffy. Gorsuch has been pretty solid. And what they're saying is, oh, this guy was a legal citizen, so he should come back to the United States. Well, here's the deal. El Salvador has the guy, and they're not going to give him over. So what do you expect Trump to do? You expect Trump to get in his hands and knees and beg for a criminal back? Are you kidding me? Like, let's use our brains. Let's use our common sense here. Come on, enough is enough. You expect this to be some winning issue. You must let the criminal back into the United States. That's what they're saying. That's what these people are saying. You have Senator from Maryland, Van Hollen, going out there and saying that El Salvador needs to let this guy go. He's going there to negotiate on behalf of the United States as a U.S. Senator. It's ridiculous. These people are ridiculous. He got deported. He, got up. He got caught up in the mix of it all, and he was sent to a different country. We don't need him back. We don't want people like him back. It's not a country thing. It's not a nationality thing. It's just a common sense thing. This guy's running with gang members. He's running with gang members in Maryland. He's under charges for or civil cases for domestic abuse. And you want to sit here and demand Donald Trump bring this guy back? You want him to just get on his hands and knees? You want him to demand to Bukele, kicking and screaming, let him back in the country? Are you out of your mind? Are you a lunatic? Are you a crazy person? Do you hate yourself? Do you hate your country? Because honestly, I would say that you probably do. If you happen to fall into that mindset, if you happen to fall into that specific framework, you hate this country. You hate the people around you. You hate your community. If you want to let people like this into your community, this is not about legal status. This is not about ethnicity. This is not about country of origin. This is about common sense, looking at the basic facts of the situation and understanding that this guy is probably not a great guy. And, maybe if you want to say if it was a problem, if it was something where he's being accused, you want to bring him back and try him fairly and then kick him out because he's probably guilty anyways. He's probably going to have to go back. We know how these things go. If you want to make that argument, fine, but why do you care so strongly about it? Like, why should you care strongly about this? You should care about your community. You have somebody who's not a citizen of the United States, has no right to be here anyways. I mean, we have to let people in on our own terms. And you have like 30 red flags on the guy. Why are you going to be dying on the hill of letting this guy come into your community? Why would you be doing that unless you hate your own community, you hate your family, you hate your country? Like, I just don't get it. It's common sense. It's common knowledge that MS-13 runs rampant. El Salvador, there's plenty of great Salvadorians. Bukele's one of them. In fact, he's doing a great job in El Salvador. He's making sure that El Salvador is a great place to live, which it was not a great place to live not too long ago. And he's done a great job. But you do have some people in El Salvador that are not so good. I mean, they had the highest murder rate before he took over in the entire world, to the point where it's like, okay, you have some people in that community that are probably going to be terrorizing other Salvadorians, and they probably shouldn't be in the United States, legally, not legally. You're vetting people, and if you even have red flags come up, like he's hanging out with these gang members, he's wearing attire commonly worn by gang members, you wouldn't want those people in your community. You wouldn't want them in your country. You'd want to get them out, to the point where it's like, you really expect me to die on this hill when El Salvador is not handing them over. Like, you expect me to kick and scream to Bouquet? Like, let this alleged criminal back in. Let this alleged gang member return to the United States. No, it's ridiculous. J.D. Vance, the vice president and 48th president of the United States, went off on Twitter, and we could pull this up, but we are going to read this after another quick water sip here. Because he says Joe Biden allowed approximately 20 million illegal aliens into our country. It put a lot of burdens on us, and this is true. You have one case of one guy who is probably a gang member who's in the United States. And this is like the outrage because we got rid of somebody who's probably a gang member. But you look at this administration who let in, I'll even be kind and say 10 million illegal aliens into this country that has placed burdens on our country. Schools, hospitals, housing, essential services, overwhelming them all. Many have been criminals, committed violent crimes, facilitated fentanyl trafficking, sex trafficking, etc. This is what we have had in this country. This is what the Trump administration has inherited. Donald Trump, mass deportation numbers, where we're talking about increasing funding, and that's great news. And we could talk about that later on in the stream if we get some super chats in the mix, which you guys can send in with the $ function if you guys so wish to do so. But it's like you have a president who has done a lot by just being there on the border. 90% drop in crossings at the southern border under Donald Trump, which is a ridiculous drop in a good way, obviously. But it's like, they're trying to beg about something like due process, which is so arbitrary because these are the same people that'll whine and they'll try to claim that there's no due process. There's no this, that, and the other thing if it's for certain cases. But for other cases, it's everything in the world to these people because it's not about the principles. They talk about principles. They talk about the Constitution when it benefits them. They don't play by the rules. The right tries so hard to play by the rules. And I understand it because there is this traditional mindset, and I get it. I think the Constitution is a wonderful thing. I think due process is generally a good thing. But when it comes to non-citizens, should we be giving these people the benefit of the doubt when in many cases our own citizens are not getting the benefit of the doubt? That's another question. So it's like, when it comes down to it, to put it in concrete terms, imposing the death penalty on an American citizen, Vance says, requires more legal process than deporting an illegal alien to their country of origin, etc. He goes on and talks about this, saying, ask the people weeping over the lack of due process what precisely they propose for dealing with Biden's millions and millions of illegals. Because that's the thing. You're overwhelmed with people. If you get one in the mix who happens to maybe be a legal resident but is still running with these gangs that happen to be comprised of a lot of illegal aliens, what do you think these people are going to do? Probably there's going to be a few in the mix, and that's the price to pay. You have to talk about Americans. How many American lives have been taken by illegal aliens over the years? You look at Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungary. There was even one in Maryland recently, by the way. One in Maryland, the same place they claim the guy's from. They're caring so much about this guy for political reasons that I don't even know how you would even say it's like a political issue that's a winning issue. Then they care about the people that have been murdered by the bad border policies of Joe Biden and many Democrats before them. That's what we're seeing here. When it comes down to it, if the answer is no, they've given their game away. They don't want border security. They don't want us to deport people who've come in illegally. They want to accomplish through fake legal process what they failed to accomplish politically, the ratification of Biden's illegal migrant invasion. President Trump and I will not stand for it. And of course, you have people that are just whining in the comments, and Vance is sitting back spectacularly, which is proving he's up for the task. He is. People say he's not. He is. Let's be clear about that. And it's like you have somebody that's overwhelmed the system, 20 million people, maybe 10 even, but that's a lot of people. You're not even talking about a 6-figure number. You're talking about an 8-figure number of people that are in our country illegally that we need to get out. If there's going to be one person who's probably not innocent anyways, not even a citizen, who happens to be in that mix, so be it. You want to talk about the Constitution, you want to talk about the rule of law, when you're inciting an invasion, which is what it is, to our southern border of 20 million people possibly over the past few years, and they've been doing it a long time before that too. They were begging for the crisis so they could have people in here, so they could naturalize them, so they could make them citizens, etc. You name it. It's all a part of their long game for power, for their electoral purposes, for their donors' purposes, etc. And they want to hide behind something like due process that they don't care about. They don't care. They don't care about principle. These are the same people that defended censorship on social media for a long time, of people that they disagree with. And you want to say that they claim to care about some sort of, processes or the Constitution or the First Amendment or whatever. It's all fake. We understand it's fake. They could take those principles and shove them up their ass where they belong. We know what these people stand for. They don't like us. They don't like our country. That's the way it is. It used to be that way on the opposition. That's what they've become. And that's the road they've been going down for a very, very long time. This is not a party that can be reasoned with. You have to look at who, like what makes you a hero to the opposition? What makes you a hero versus what makes you the villain? Like, what are they talking about Trump being the worst man ever for versus what are they talking about, these heroes on their side lately? Because that's another thing. We've seen them defend murderers. We've seen them defend, remember Carmelo Anthony, the guy, not the NBA player, Carmelo Anthony, the new Carmelo Anthony with a K, that stabbed the white kid in Frisco, Texas to death over a seat at a track and field meet. He brought a knife to a track and field meet and he stabbed him to death in the heart. And you have people on the left defending this guy, saying he's innocent, claiming it was self-defense. They would never defend Kyle Rittenhouse. They would never defend George Zimmerman, despite those cases being far more clear-cut self-defense. But they're doing it because, the people on the right are calling out the hypocrisy of this, and rightfully so, because they are being hypocritical about it. And you look at the heroes. They've got somebody who killed a CEO who lobbied for Obamacare. Not even like somebody that's like actually like very into the whole like healthcare system thing himself, because he lobbied to change it and supported what the left supported at the time. You have somebody who was, mentally ill. This Luigi guy shoots the CEO and they make him a hero. He's like ideologically incoherent. He becomes a hero of the left. And you have Carmelo Anthony, who's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of grassroots donations for his bail fund because he stabbed a white kid to death over a seat. Like, that's what's happening. And maybe you want to say that it wasn't first degree murder, because it really wasn't. If you want to say maybe it should be manslaughter because, he's, 17, he did stab the guy in the heart, but maybe he wasn't intending to. Maybe he made a mistake. He still killed somebody. It's still manslaughter. He still was not operating in self-defense under any possible, feasible circumstance, regardless of however you want to spin it. It was not self-defense. But this guy's becoming a hero on the left. They're selling merchandise of the killer on the left. But on the right, who are the villains? Donald Trump's a villain. What are they whining about Donald Trump doing? Besides the tariff thing, because that's like, basic, economic drama, which we've covered and we'll cover it when necessary, but it's been out of the news for the week anyways. But it's like, how do you become a villain on the left? Well, Trump is evil now because he deported a criminal non-citizen who's a suspected terrorist, suspected domestic abuser. Remember Donald Trump, they called him a rapist in civil court. They won't talk, but like he's not actually a domestic abuser, this guy, because it was civil court. But a rogue civil court case that it was politically charged, they used that to call Donald Trump a rapist in New York. But this case, which had nothing to do with politics, was in a civil court. They'll ignore it. They'll use the civil court thing as a crutch for him, but not for Donald Trump. When it comes down to Trump also, one of their other heroes is a hero because Donald Trump decided to suspend the student visa and his State Department of a Hamas sympathizer who was causing chaos on a college campus. This guy, Mohammed something, I forgot his last name. It's hard to pronounce, whatever. But he was not a citizen. Donald Trump deported him. The left is up in arms. The far left is up in arms because Donald Trump decided to put his foot down and deport somebody who, again, was not a citizen whatsoever, but happened to have objectionable views to the public at large, but was also supporting terrorist groups. It wasn't just like, oh, he wrote a paper about Palestine or whatever. It's like you can disagree with certain people about certain conflicts, whatever, but it's like this guy was a non-citizen leading some sort of revolt on campus. That's why he was kicked out of the country. I mean, it's a very common opinion for people to have on social media, in general. Writing a paper in college about Palestine, I guarantee you there's been thousands of papers that have been written. Even some foreign students have probably written thousands of papers in support of Palestine in opposition to Israel. That's not the point. You have this guy who was actively supporting and distributing paperwork supporting Hamas. That is not the same thing, and was causing chaos on a campus. They deported him, rightfully so. It's like, I don't even think we should have that many student visas to begin with. You have people that are complaining about it for some reason or another because they're dumb. And of course, these people become heroes to the left. Trump gets hate, on the left. They're dying on the worst hills imaginable. That is the bottom line. They're exhibiting very strange behavior in order to spite Donald Trump. You're defending terrorists, suspected terrorists. You're supporting murderers. Like, what are we doing here? Objective morality. Even in the case of Luigi, which is like a little different because that's kind of out of the news cycle in general. But when you justify murder, say, oh, this guy murdered a cog in the wheel of a system that's broken. Because I agree the healthcare system's broken. I might not agree on the solution, but I think we all can agree that our healthcare system is broken. But it's like, you're going to kill a cog in the wheel of the system. You're going to justify it because it's broken. You could justify a lot of things with that mindset. And it's a very dangerous mindset people have. And it's becoming prevalent on the left, mainly like on the Reddit left. I think it's more of like an online thing than a real life thing, which is why Democrats are at 29% approval, 29% favorable rating in the most recent polling ahead of 2026. And we're going to get into that in a second. We're going to talk about some of the 2028 stuff too, because the bench is so god awful for the Democrats. It's absurd. It's abysmal. But it's like you have these people on the left and their heroes are the worst people. And their enemies are the people that are getting rid of the worst people imaginable. J.D. Vance is supposedly evil because he's saying that, why do you care so much about due process for somebody like this? Like, obviously, we have due process. We should have due process. Maybe this guy should have gotten a trial before we kicked him out, which he probably would have been kicked out anyways. But it's like he's not a citizen. It's not healthy to care this much about people that are not a part of your country. It's not. Like, there does need to be a sense of community and communitarianism that we have in this country. And you have so many people on the right who are going to turn a blind eye to that too. But it's like you have people that are a part of groups that will harm you and harm your family in this country, but you're going to be supporting them and dying on that hill because Trump bad and because, oh, this guy's like an illegal alien, or I guess in this case, a legal, barely, alien. And we're supposed to care that much about this guy because of that? Really? It's like the graphs you see, like the heat maps, where you have the people on the right and it's like more centered, where they care more about their family first and their community first, and then like other people, other nations, which is normal, which Vance called out, and he talked about it, and he called out some people that were trying to guilt trip him over the whole faith argument about it, because there is a saying, a tradition in the church, like Ordo Amoris or whatever it's called, that would align with the normal natural order. And then you have the people on the left who will try to go out there and defend the worst people possible people that seek harm on the nation because one reason or another. It's to own the right, or it's to, or just because they hate the country one way or another. They're kind of becoming synonymous with each other. That's kind of the main point here. You have this guy in Maryland. He's a part of a gang. He's a part of a gang that kills people in the most gruesome way possible, or allegedly a part of that gang. He runs with people a part of the gang. He wears the insignia of the gang in the region. He's probably never been to Chicago. I mean, we understand how these things go. Oh, he could just be a fan of the team. I don't care. I don't care. You wouldn't get the call the other way, by the way. Let's be completely honest about that, and I'll get to that in a second, too. Because let's say it's like a far-right gang or a prison gang, like a neo-Nazi gang, for example. And like they're, let's say they've got like insignia that they wear. And you have somebody that's like from, I don't know, Russia, because we know the left doesn't like Russia, like a Russian member who's running with people that are like a part of some vague, neo-Nazi gang. And let's say they're wearing like hats of, like, let's say they have a team of some sort that they use to identify each other. And let's say, who do we hate? Oh yeah, the New York Knicks. Let's use them as an example because we want them to suffer. And they've, this guy's got on a Knicks hat or something, which I mean would be ironic because most NBA players are obviously not white, but still it's besides the point. The main point is the left going to give that person the benefit of it? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. We understand how they operate. And this is the same thing, but it's the inverse. And we understand how they operate under these circumstances. And then they want to cling to principles. You don't care about principles. You don't care about looking like a hypocrite. So why should the right die on these hills? And of course, you'll have the people come out of the woodwork and say, well, if we don't support this, they're going to start deporting people that they disagree with or something. And it's like, I'm sick of this pussy mindset so many people on the right wing have. They're unwilling to use the power in front of them because they're afraid the second it goes in the hands of the opposition, they're going to use it against you. Well, guess what? They're already doing it. You saw what happened under the Biden administration. Biden didn't even have a mind, let alone a philosophy. But the people under him were taking political prisoners that they happen to disagree with. And you expect when the shoe's on the other foot, oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. Oh, but the upcoming election. It didn't matter. You saw what happened 2022. You saw what happened. Enough is enough with this stuff. Because we have to uphold what is right, what is true. It's not just about punishing the enemies. It's about just upholding the rule of law. And if you have people who are in your country illegally or are just here even legally but non-citizens, and they happen to be, one of them got in who might not have been a part of the gang. It's probably somebody who's a part of the gang. It's like, I don't care. Do you really expect me to die on this hill of defending this thug, this suspected gang member who beats his wife, who's not a citizen, and you expect me to go balls to the wall defending his ass? I say no. Bukele can do whatever the hell he wants with him. I don't care. And I think the average person agrees with me. They don't agree with you, the weakling on the right, who is afraid of everything, who's a major pussy, who's afraid to get his hands dirty, and is the reason why we're in this situation in the first place, and who was wrong about everything, and probably claimed Donald Trump was going to lose, and probably wanted Ron DeSanctimonious to be the nominee, and probably wanted all this other stuff to happen that never happened. It's like you've lost the card in the argument a long time ago. I don't care what you have to say. You're irrelevant. You're a loser. You should feel ashamed. And you're the reason why the country's gone downhill. And it's people that actually have teeth that are able to bite back and fight back that are the reason why we're going to take this country back. And that's why we're taking this country back, is because enough people have woken up. It's the same people that said, Donald Trump shouldn't talk about Springfield. Oh, it's horrible what he's saying. Yeah, you know what? Okay, yeah, I hope a Haitian goes and eats your dog next, okay? How about that? How does that sound for a change, you absolute clown? You want to sit up here and tell me, oh, it can't happen. These people don't do this sort of thing. Yes, they do. They sacrifice animals to voodoo, you dipshit. You claim like you're some cultured person and that, oh, MAGA's uncultured. Okay, well, you don't even understand basic tenets of Haitian culture and what they do there. Obviously, not all Haitians do that. Obviously, if you go to Little Haiti in Miami, you have more assimilated people, and they don't do that sort of thing. I get it. There's nuance to it. People that don't have nuance are stupid. I say that all the time. But it's like to pretend like if you dump thousands of people from a nation where this is a commonly practiced thing in the middle of Ohio, in towns in Pennsylvania, and you expect that it can happen there, but it happens in Haiti, then you're out of your mind, you're a delusional dipshit, and honestly, I don't care what you have to say about anything. You could just go delete your Twitter account, do what you gotta do, get out of politics, because I don't respect you. And I don't think you respect yourself because you clearly don't respect your country. You don't respect your community. And that's a major problem. So you have people on the right, you have people on the left that'll fall into the same traps, and they're dying on the worst hills imaginable. And they think that it's some like electoral winner for them. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world, folks. But like the stream down below, subscribe to the channel, do what you got to do, guys. But we're going to be moving on to talk about, we're going to go to the next topic. So let's see what we got here. We got to talk about 2026. We got some, obviously, I don't want to cover this too in depth because we talked about it in the video, but we have this right here, and this is important because the 2026 target list is so bad. And it's like the Democrats are delusional to the point of no return. They win an election in Wisconsin that is not even party like identified. And it's funny because people forget that in 2021, they won the superintendent race in Wisconsin by 15 points. And then Ron Johnson won the Senate race in 2022. Like, they forget this basic history that's not even 4 years old, but they choose to forget it because it's convenient for them to. And they build up this confidence. And now they're talking about, we're going to target seats that went for Donald Trump by, and I'll repeat, I'll go by the numbers, 13.1%, 12.5%, 11.8%, 14.6%, 8.4%, 10% on the nose, 15.8%, 7.9%, 10.6%, 9.2%, 8.5%, 18%, 17.8%, and 7.2%. On the Democrat side, however, the most outlandish seat that Republicans are targeting is more down-ballot Republican than it is at the presidential level, and voted for Kamala Harris by 4.2%, and another one that voted for her by 4%. Both of those are probably long shot flips, but that's the comparison you got. That's what you have. And obviously I understand that, oh, well, Trump's in the White House. Midterm elections usually go the way the out-of-party power, or the out-of-powered party, they go in their favor. And that's true. But when you look at this, it's like, guys, let's use our brains here for 1 second. You have a party that is out of power, that has an approval rating that is on net 40 points worse than Donald Trump. I know that they could retake the House, and they still could despite that, because that's how turnout dynamics work. That's how these things go, etc. Politics are not all nationalized. There's a macro, there's a micro. I get it. Midterm elections are not presidential elections. I'd be lying to you guys if I was going to say that before the election, but not say it now, because it's true. We've learned a lot through this channel. For the past 6 years, we've had twists and turns. The 2022, we know why, and everything in my autopsy report was proven correct by 2024. And when we're looking at 2026, we can't just say Trump won the seat, so it's going to go red, or the Democrats won the seat, so it's instantly going to have to go blue. There's a different turnout dynamic at play. There's nuance to it. But the bottom line is that there's no blue wave. Anybody who thinks there's a blue wave is doing some sort of drugs. Because even if Democrats win the popular vote by 6 or 7 points, when you adjust for the uncontested races, as they did in 2018, there's not enough math for them in their favor to flip any more than like 15 seats. Now, that would be a good year for them. They retake the House. They're not retaking the Senate. The governorships are a wash. What are they going to do about it? There's nothing they can do. They're going to sit in the corner and talk about a blue wave of sorts in a bunch of seats. They're going to probably, on this list, lose by close to double digits, if not more than that. Several of these seats. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's true. And even of the seats that they're targeting, like even the Harris seats, like Brian Fitzpatrick is not losing. In fact, I think that's Trump's best performance in that seat to date. Bucks County is a county that is going to be competitive. I do think Josh Shapiro is going to win it, but Brian Fitzpatrick is almost certainly going to win re-election, to the point where even his seat being on the list is ridiculous. Now, the Democrats, a lot of these Democrats are probably going to win, but the fact that this is a more sensible list of targets, but the Democrats are still not even having the House. They're claiming that they have like this wave coming. Yeah, Republicans have a decent shot to take the House, or to keep the House in this case. It's 50-50. The Senate is like 99-1 Republican once again. You could, seriously, if anybody has any argument to why Republicans are going to lose the Senate, please send it to me via Super Chat, because we're going to have a good laugh. All few hundred people of you guys here are going to probably have a good laugh. As for the governorships, those can get interesting because those are more localized, but still, it's not like there's going to be a massive shift to the left because there's no potential for it. So either way, yeah, you're not having the Senate. You're not going to see this massive wave at the state level. At the congressional level, in terms of the House, we could talk about maybe you could retake it. You're not going to have a massive majority. There's no way. You can keep coping about it. You could do what you got to do, but you're not having it. And when it comes down to the 2028 election, you have no direction. You have no party that is going to be capable of dog walking anybody. Maybe you find a way to win on a technicality. I'm not saying you can't win it, but it's like you need to win it. This is the make or break election for the Democratic Party ahead of the 2030s, because that electoral map is brutal, which means the House map is brutal. The Senate's going to get worse for you. Republicans are on their way to a near filibuster-proof majority, if not one. And at that point, they could lower the filibuster to as much as low as they want and just do whatever they want to do. If they have balls, which they don't, but maybe they'll get some as time goes on. Donald Trump said, I'll teach the disloyal R's and the rhinos how to win. He's doing it. They just need to follow suit. If they're not going to follow suit, it's a major problem. But the Republicans, if they want to win, they need to essentially become the Trump cult party when he's president. I don't mean like some weird, we're going to have candles for Donald Trump, the way that the left did for Kamala Harris and Gretchen Whitmer and all these people. I'm saying just back whatever he's supporting. He's popular. The party needs to maintain synonymity. Is that the word with him? Because if they do, they're going to do well. And 2028, you look at the Democrats, oh boy, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Without Kamala Harris, because keep in mind, Kamala Harris is ahead of all the Democrats in the polls still. But without Kamala, it's Pete Buttigieg. He's the front runner. No appeal to minority men or minorities in general. And I don't think it's just the sexuality aspect. It's part of it. But he's just a smarmy prick from Indiana who acts like he's better than everybody. That doesn't play too well with working class demographics in general. It doesn't. You have these millennials. He'd be perfect for the Democrat base now that loves the Democrats, but that's like 30-some% of the country. Buttigieg would get absolutely decimated. This guy, they made him the transportation secretary Because he likes trains. They didn't specify which type of train, by the way. And I think we know which type he likes better. And speaking of people who like that kind of train, Cory Booker's in second place. Remember Spartacus? Oh, he said, I'm Spartacus. I have a lot of testosterone. Okay, Cory. Yeah, sure. Sure thing, buddy. 14% of the party's behind him. He's in with the whole New Jersey, big pharma type of thing. And then AOC, who's a complete and total nut job. Please, I beg the Democrats, please. Like, people, when I say AOC, they think it's like a joke. They think it's like, well, what are you doing? You're wasting your time on like an unserious topic. Well, she's right there. Like, I don't think she'll get the nomination, to be fair. But she's honestly polling like she's going to be in first place, which I don't think she would stay there as the field would consolidate. But it's like Bernie Sanders is too old to run on that wing of the party. Who's it going to be next? Probably AOC. And then you have Gavin Newsom, who's the sociopath. Everybody's onto it now. Tampon Tim. Overrated Shapiro. Gretchen Whitmer, who the party hates now because she had the whole Foldergate thing at the White House with Trump. And then you have Pritzker, who's their Chris Christie. Amy Klobuchar, who, again, she's not really all that moderate, but she pretends to be one, so they hate her for it. Jon Stewart, yeah, please do that. Andy Bashir, Nepo baby. Mark Cuban, another loser, but I would probably be more afraid of him than the others because he's an outsider and possibly could leverage that somehow. He's got more of the business mindset. Jasmine Crockett, 1%. Wes Moore, again, he's kind of very generic. He's kind of like reminds me of like the TV stand-in for Obama back in the day, like where they'd have like a generic black guy be president on the TV shows or the movies that would like be like the Obama, but they didn't actually have him like be Obama because it's like TV or whatever. Like he could fit that bill well. I mean, he's very generic, but again, 1% already, that's a steep hill to climb. And even then, I'm not afraid of the guy, but he would be one of their better options. And then you have Raphael Warnock, wife beater Warnock at 1%. And then Stephen A. Smith at 0.5%. It's crazy because he's one of their more sensible options. As a candidate, he's like a joke, but in terms of what he says on the substance, he does tend to make sense, more so than most of these people, despite being like a career contrarian, which should tell you something about how bad your party is. If Stephen A. Smith, of all people, is your hope and is your possible like energy guy to engage young voters and men in the party, like seriously, this is the road they're going down. I beg of you, Democrats. I beg of you. So that's what we got to work with today, guys. It's a lot of stupidity, and that's true. But we're going to get to Super Chats after a quick water break because I know it's been like 50 minutes. I've talked you guys' ear off, and I know it's getting late. But it's like these people, this is the opposition now. And if Republicans let these people win somehow, they're even more pathetic than I thought. So we'll get to the Super Chats, guys. So we'll see. And by the way, we have a goal. And the goal is 30 Super Chats, 5 and above. We have 13 already. So if you guys want to help us get there, then we will get there. So Johnny Heart Dog, as usual, leading us off saying, what's up? Well, I think you know what's up. We've talked for a while, but he also says, can a president actually be charged with contempt? I think it's unlikely with the immunity ruling that he would be charged for contempt, especially as the ball is not in Trump's court. The ball is in El Salvador's court in terms of that issue. And Congress has the opportunity to remove district courts if they decide to step on his heels. Now, do Republicans in Congress have balls, or are they going to worry about looking like a hypocrite so much to the point where they're just castrated? Because that's my own fear with these people in order to get things done. They've come a long way. They're better than usual. I get it. But they're just, like I said, they're the naive, stupid people. They think the world is still the world 30 years ago because the communities they live in look like the world 30 years ago and even older than that. And that's not true. They don't live in the real world. They don't get it. And that's a major problem. And that's kind of why you have this realignment in part happening. It's just ignorance. They say that the right is ignorant. No, the elite is ignorant. That's the problem. Johnny Hot Dog for 10 says gas prices are still up here in Alaska. I know it's Alaska, but still, if prices rise in Alaska with the rest of the nation, they should fall with the rest of the nation. I get it, but it's like, I was in downtown Dallas the other day, and gas was like $5 a gallon there for premium, because I use 93 octane with my car, but it's like, I thought it was ridiculous, but then I go to the next gas station, I drive past the next gas station, and it was $1 cheaper. So, it's just one of those things where I get it, but it's like, if you're in a city, it's going to be more expensive naturally for gas. So, prices overall are going down, which is what I've noticed, and I think it's a good thing that that's the case. So, Giblet for 10 says Republicans are considering raising taxes on the upper tax brackets. I think it's a terrible idea. I don't know why certain pundits in the MAGA movement are in support of it. I'm not in support of it entirely. I support I think that the SALT deductions thing, Trump actually raised taxes on the wealthy. People don't know this because they take in the media. They don't understand nuance. But when you understand how these things work in these blue states where you have the SALT deductions, Donald Trump, in his first term with his tax bill, which wasn't perfect, but was a step in the right direction, he was able to go out there and raise the effective tax rate of blue state millionaires and billionaires and whatever in a lot of these states because of that. Now he's, running for office, trying to do well in New York. He says that he's going to reinstate the deductions. I would prefer that he does it in a very minuscule fashion if he does. But yeah, I don't think we need to raise taxes on the wealthy. Now, the corporations themselves, it's another thing. It's like, I'd rather have an incentivization structure that would say you want to pay the tax rate you're paying, fine, but you have to make more goods in America. You have to actually, pay your workers better wages. I'll agree with the more populist elements in that department for sure. So that's kind of the difference. Johnny Hot Dog says, when will Congress do something about these judges? I hear a lot of talk, but either Congress or the Supreme Court needs to step in immediately. Yeah. Look, pack the court. We say, oh, the left's going to do it. Yeah, they're going to do it anyways, okay? Like, people don't understand this. They won't get power if you actually enact your agenda because it's popular. And they're going to stop everything you can do because this is a Republican Party, or at least this is an agenda, a right-wing agenda that Donald Trump has that has teeth to it. Bush didn't have teeth to his. Romney would not have had teeth to his. I mean, even Reagan. A lot of people here, especially the older generations, they love Reagan. But there were many things that Reagan did that were harmful or that were compromises that had a long-lasting negative impact on this nation, whether it was amnesty, gun control, you name it. It was not like he had like the perfect first term. So I'm not saying Trump needs to pack the court, but in terms of threatening to pack the court if they don't get in line, then yeah, absolutely. They will shit in their pants. They will shit bricks. Do what you got to do. I at this point, I don't have patience for these people, and neither should you, to be honest. So always strive for greatness for 5 says, why did Republicans pass a bloated budget that raises the debt and deficit big time if they're concerned with the national debt and deficit? Well, because if they didn't pass a budget like that, the government would be shut down. And that's a problem. And if you would have shut down the government, who's going to be to blame? Is it going to be the Democrats or the Republican trifecta? Now, in reality, it would be the Democrats. But the average voter's not going to see it that way. And that's why people like Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, they're basically effectively grandstanding because it's not like the budgets that they would want to propose, which they wouldn't even bother to write, by the way, would actually pass through the same, Democrat Senate, or at least because it's like you need 60 votes. The filibuster, we should lower it because the math is on our side. The Democrats are probably never going to have control of the Senate again until there's a realignment, which would still be beneficial for us, by the way, to the point where it's like even if it's 54 or 55, you get a much better budget through. You'd pass your agenda through much more easily. And they're never going to be able to mathematically get there based on registration data, based on just basic common sense. So you do the math. But so many people are afraid to afraid to talk about things like this on the right. But it's like, if you want to get things done, guys, you're going to have to bend the rules. The founding fathers that wrote the Constitution, they would not side with this notion that you cannot go out there and bend the rules. These people were trailblazers. These were not people that would bend over and take it and just take the destruction of their country on the sake of principle. These are people that, these are the same people over tea. They started some sort of revolution over the price of tea. And at the same time, it's like we're told that we can't possibly do anything because, the system is going to stand in our way. Guys, we need to have balls of steel. We need actual leadership. The system is broken. We can't be a part of it and fix it by just towing the line the way that we need to. It's not going to get us anywhere. It's not. Obviously, we support peace. We support peaceful reform in this country. We absolutely do. But there needs to be some stronger reforms that are not toothless that we can do. Donald Trump is somebody that knows how to find the loopholes and win on them. I mean, this is the same guy that said, you know what, Congress doesn't want to fund the wall. Well, we're gonna have a national emergency at the border, and look what it did. He built hundreds of miles of new and replacement wall in his first term that otherwise would never have gotten built. So that's what I say. So let's see. Johnny Heartdog for 20 says tariffs, deportation, and DEI. That's what we voted for. You think the demonic Dems would quit fighting? That if they ever wanted to win another election, don't they know people overwhelmingly voted for those things? Exactly, but they think that they can spin the narrative and win on it because, they're the ones that are fired up, and the response bias and the polling and everything that they denied before the election that became true. So it's like they can keep coping. I tell them to suffer. They could suffer. They've been talking all this trash for the past 9 years, and we won, and they lost. And now we're doing things, and they're whining about them. And it's like, suffer. You lost. Cry about it. Cry in the corner. Go home to mommy. Go home. You lost. Let the adults in the room run things the way that they're supposed to be run, because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You got us into this mess. I don't know how somebody like Donald Trump could win an election. It's like, I wonder why. Look in the mirror. Trump's great. I'm not trying to take it away from him, but it's like it really does take two in a situation like this. And yeah, absolutely. Sorry, just a little build up there, but it's just ridiculous. The same people that are protesting the government efficiency task force because they might uncover waste, fraud, and abuse and fire people from jobs they shouldn't be having. Get a real job. I'm sorry. You're just leeching on the government for what? So you can be involved in some transfer of funding from the United States to some drag show in Peru? And you expect me to just go along with it? These should not be winning issues. And if the Democrats are able to run and win on them, in 26 or whatever, I think it speaks volumes to the lack of messaging on the right, because they won't listen to people like me. They won't. They'll say, that's grotesque. I would never touch something like that. That's low value. That's low end. And it's like, you see what you're doing. You see your toothless reasoning that you give for why people should elect Republicans. And it goes nowhere, and you lose. And then you blame people like me who are telling you and teaching you how to win because I'm telling you and teaching you how to win. And it's like, you can run the same candidates, the high quality candidates you talk about. You could run Brian Kemp in Georgia. You could run Scott Brown in New Hampshire. You could even run Mike Rogers in Michigan. I like the guy, but it's like, it's Michigan. Tudor Dixon's not going to win an election in Michigan. I hate to break it to you. Find another candidate if you don't like Rogers. I'd be open to that. But you could run the same candidates, but it's about the messaging that you're bringing to the table in order to win. And if you're going to try to toe this line, well, Trump's good on this, but not good on this. And I think his behavior, you're not going to win that way because you're going to piss off both sides. This was the Republicans' problem in 2018, running a lot of these so-called high-quality candidates that knew how to raise money and do all this stuff. They don't learn. They don't want to learn. Johnny Heartdog says, I almost forgot. Also overwhelmingly voted for Doge and Musk. Exactly. Tucson Paleocon for 20 says, Latita James is on the ropes. Think she'll be prosecuted for her crimes? Well, I hope so, but I'm not entirely sure. She should be. Enough is enough. We deal with this. It's one-sided for all this time, and we're not allowed to push the buttons. How much taxpayer money did she waste on trying to get Donald Trump for something that was non-existent? That should anger people. That should want people to have accountability, but they don't know how to frame it. They don't know how to message it because they're just weak. There's so many weak, stupid people in politics. I guess it's just the type of people that enter. But it does take actual outsiders to break the mold, but they have to know what they're doing and be smart and competent. Because, you have a lot of people with good intentions don't know their head from their ass, and then they get in, and then they get their ass handed to them. And it's sad, but it's the way it is. Whether they're great people, great intentions, whatever, we need people that know how to toe the line. We need people that know what they're doing to really break the system, because it is broken, and it can be manipulated in our favor if we utilize it as such. But so many people won't do it in the right way, and they keep losing, and they wonder why they're losing, and they blame all the wrong people for it. Ash K2 for 10 says AOC will hold massive rallies in the country, including Deep Red, Idaho. She's a joke, but at what point do we take it seriously and not underestimate her? Recall Dems treated Trump as a joke in 2015. Well, the bottom line is her policies are not popular. Right-wing populism is overwhelmingly popular. People tend to want less immigration when it's polled correctly in the correct format. People tend to want they'll take the tax cuts combined with some form of, we need to have, more manufacturing jobs. Whether people agree with all the tariffs or not is not the main point. It's about the vibes. With AOC, when you poll people about, do you want, universal single payer healthcare like other countries do, it might poll well. But when you talk about in the United States, you want a government run healthcare run by the U.S. government, no is going to be the overwhelming answer, even among 40% of Democrats. And a lot of the other statements she said, she wants to reduce the number of cows. She wants to limit how much meat you can eat. That's not, I'm not taking it lightly because she might end up being the nominee, 1 in 1,000 chance. But I would say that we're not underestimating her. The Democrats would never let her get the nomination, but if they would, we'd have a field day with her. So I would encourage them to nominate somebody like that, but I don't think that they would do it at this point. Maybe in the future, but not now. Johnny Heartdog for 5 says, another off-topic question. What's the real state of the economy now? I keep hearing conflicted reports. What's the truth? Well, depends on what you look at, and I'll get to this in a second. Because you look at the stock market is doing, better than it was a couple weeks ago, but they had a bad day today. But it's stabilizing around 40K in the Dow. Not the greatest, but it is what it is. It needed a correction regardless. Obviously, the tariff threats have been lowering the market, but still, you could make the case in the long run it might have been beneficial that way. As for the unemployment rate is, it's been fine. It's also been fake. I'm not going to say it's real now that Trump is in the White House, but the jobs reports, the last couple jobs reports have been solid. And the inflation rate has gone down to lows that we haven't seen in 4 years. And gas prices have been going down. Egg prices have been going down. That sort of thing. Donald Trump, the left boxed themselves into the corner. Trump was really elected to lower gas and egg prices and to secure the border to stop the flow of people coming in. We already did all of that just by basically just being there for 2 months. Now they're fixated on these other things, and it is true that the tariffs are something that's a little bit of a gamble to an extent. I think, we need tariffs, period, to use in terms of negotiation to level the playing field. It's been a shaky rollout. It's going to make the voters seasick. I agree with that. But at the end of the day, we do have positive things coming from that. Nissan's coming in, Honda's coming in, companies that are producing, protein pancakes are coming in even from Canada, just based on the mere threat of tariffs. And I would really like to see, obviously Trump has cut a lot of regulations via executive action. I would like to see some more action in terms of the tax cuts, which again, Trump has been getting on that. They need to get through the House. They need to get through the Senate. There needs to be something done on that front for sure. Always strive for greatness for tenses, just to have fun. Make the case for Woodrow Wilson not being a bottom 7 president. What would your best argument look like in leveling out his presidency? Well, Biden makes it easier. You could talk about just finding 7 presidents that are worse. As for his tenure, is there anything he did? I know there's some contrarians out there that will say that Wilson was more of a product of his environment, more so than somebody who was uniquely a bad president. So anybody in that situation would have been weak by just, existing. So that's a loaded question. I'm not the best with early 1900s history. I'm sure there's other people you could ask that could lay it out better than I could, but I think that's kind of like the cliff notes on how you would answer that question. I could ask Grok, or you could ask Grok. Grok's done a great job with hypotheticals like that. So there's that. Johnny Hart Dog says, do we keep the House in 26? I think it's going to be close. I can't say for sure. It is true that the left has the propensity advantage. They didn't have that before, but the map is not favoring them. You're not going to have a 40-seat wave. I think even people on the left, if they're being honest with themselves, can agree with that. But could I see them gain 10 to 15 if they have a really good night? Then yeah, but that's still not historically great. And it could flip back in 28. And oh boy, come the 2032 map, it's going to be glorious for the Republicans because, you get 10 seats basically for free. And we covered that a few videos ago, and it's a major issue. David Conrad, thank you for becoming a member. Which, by the way, guys, we could extend the goal. I'll extend the goal because we've had 20 already. 20 super chats, teal and above. But I started the goal, I think, 3 hours before stream. So I could do a goal for 10. If we could hit that, that would be great. But we'll see. Mike M. says a Dem senator from Maryland went to El Salvador to visit one of his favorite gang members. I really don't know who he's trying to impress. Well, this is the thing. See, you guys get it far better than the GOP leadership does. And that's the thing. They're afraid. They don't want to be called names. They don't want to be called hypocrites or racists or whatever. And it's all nonsense. It's all bullshit. Excuse the language, but it's true. It's these people are so afraid of light pushback that they will not take the easiest political layups or dunks or whatever you call it because they're spineless. That's the thing. Be smart. Don't be an idiot. But actually just have a spine when it comes to something that's popular and common sense. Have a spine for once in your lives. They won't do it. Why won't they do it? I don't know. You tell me. I think many are controlled opposition. I think they've gotten better. But, even if they are controlled opposition, just take the layup. Seriously. Red Whale Politics says, hopefully we can get enough to get Mike Rogers and John James over the edge in Michigan. I want some competent leadership for once in Michigan. It's crazy to think the left thinks that Rittenhouse and Daniel Penny are evil villains, but also talk about how great Jacob, Blake, Mike Brown, and Luigi are. That's another thing. We covered that earlier on as well. I agree with both. Real Texan Politics for a member chat says, by the way, Cory Booker is only in second place because of a recent speech. Will collapse as soon as it's collectively forgotten about. That's how these things go. But it's yeah, he's better than Buttigieg. He's better than AOC. But he's still not this guy. We made fun of him. We called him Spartacus. He had that one actress be his essentially beard. As we all know what's going on there with the guy. And it's like, we get it. We get it. But it's so fake. Democrats on the national level, disaster. They're a total disaster. We need to capitalize on it. Excuse me. We were still recovering a little bit. We had a little bit of a cold, but we're much better now than we were before. Red Whale Politics says, have you heard David Hogg and other far-left people start to fundraise to primary basic Democrat moderates? Yeah, please. Please do. Because even if they win the primary, it's like you have people that are probably A, easier to beat in the general, but B, more importantly, waste your money. Republicans had all these divisive primaries in 2022, and it killed us. It cost us a governorship in Arizona, most likely. It cost us a Senate race, probably in Nevada. And there's other factors that cost us those races. I'm not saying there's not. But it's like you can't have these divisive primaries when the other side is like unified. And Donald Trump, his endorsements at this stage in the game, now it's like, okay, he's controlling the primary. If he endorses you, you're winning. Most of the time, like 90% of the time. It's not like 2022 where it helps you. Now it's like, if he's president, this is it. You're winning big time. Eric Jenkins says, I say to my liberal friends all the time, who the hell can they run if no bench? Well, exactly. They don't have a direction. Kamala Harris was their last resort this time. Now she's your front runner. Run Biden again. He's getting in politics. He's giving speeches. Say, I would have beaten Trump. It'd be funny. He'd still lose, but you're probably losing anyways. It'd be funny. Run Biden again. At least Biden is he's entertaining. I don't want to gouge my ears out by listening to Biden because it's like I want to see what he's going to say next. I do. So the goal ended. We'll do 10 super chats, all the colors now. Because I still have energy. I know it's like 12:30 on the East Coast, but we're still going. But we'll do, because I know we got 22 out of the 30. So I'll set a goal for 10, but it'll be any super chat. So even like $2 chats would still count. Maryland guy says, not all of us in Maryland are brain dead. I didn't vote for Chris Van Hollen, but unfortunately, you know how, well, a lot of people are. Not you, but a lot of people are. Maryland is one of the most liberal states in the country. Red Whale Politics is another thing, is people's patience, especially with younger men. With the Democrat Party is razor thin, if not gone. Yeah, exactly. Like, men are more, like, it's not politically correct to say, but it feels like young men in particular. Because I feel like Zoomers tend to be more rational, and men tend to be more rational. Demographics in general. And when you put those two together, especially the younger Zoomers who aren't like major pussies, like some of the Zillennials. I guess technically I'm a Zillennial, but I'm not one of those people. It's like, you have a segment of the population that is just more rationally minded. Now, if the Republicans can engage them, they're sitting on a gold mine. Many of them have been left behind. Many of them have been talked at, lectured by the most insufferable people possible that happen to be the same people on the left. You hear these talks about toxic masculinity it's more just like basic masculinity, what they're calling toxic. Yeah, okay. Call basic opinions that people have that are, synonymous with regular opinions as toxic and see how that works out for you. I mean, I'm telling you. American Nerd 1776, his thoughts on Elise Stefanik possibly running for New York governor. I'm skeptical. I think she might do better upstate, but wouldn't get 2022. Yeah, I think it's going to be Lawler, whether people like him or not. I think he's the more electable option. But it's New York. I'll take what I can get in New York. This is not like even a swing state. This is a deep blue state. Has not voted Republican in my lifetime outside of maybe, the 2002 governor's race. Walk Talk 21 for 10 says, unpopular take. Let Russia, Ukraine fight it out. If they want to kick and scream and drag their feet, run to New Delhi and beg India to help you, we need to stop supporting you. Well, I agree we need to stop supporting Ukraine. But I think the war would be better off ending. It's like how long have we done this charade for in Eastern Europe? How long? Done it in Eastern Europe for a while. We've had boots on the ground in the Middle East for the past 30 years. It's been ridiculous. And we're expected to go out there and police the entire globe. No, that's not how I want to operate as a nation. Red Whale Politics for 5 says, I love seeing the crack smoking Reddit/liberal respond guys on your X account talking shit, saying we're going to get a 2006 blue. Please, I mean, how are you going to get 60 seats in the House? Like, how's it even remotely feasible? Your party's insufferable. They're hated. Trump is not as unpopular as you think he is. You can cope about it all you want. Like, you're winning special elections. Okay, congratulations. You were doing that before the election. And then you were using that as proof to say that the 2024 election was going to vote for Kamala despite the polling, which has historically underestimated Trump and did underestimate Trump again simply because the special elections told me so. Well, yeah, how did those work out for you? Not too well. Yeah, not too well. Okay, all the same people. They trash our poll. Our poll was the most accurate poll in Wisconsin, by the way, in this past election. It also has the Republicans winning in 2026 by 4 points for some reason. So you could take that low-quality poll and shove it up your rear end, and you know who you are. But these people don't get it. They never will. Red Whale Politics says, I love... Oh, we did that one. Johnny Hart Dog says, crazies on the left and wimps on the right. Yep, that sums it up. Tucson PaleoCon for 5. Top Dog Obedience for 5 says, will Trump have the balls to endorse Paxton over Cornyn? Or will... No, I don't think he's going to endorse Cornyn this far out. I think the fact that he's not is a good sign. Shows he's open to supporting a challenger. I understand why he would not endorse Paxton. Because if you're Donald Trump and you want things to get through Congress, and you have a primary coming up in less than a year, do you want to provoke somebody who could turn on you, still win through the help of crossover voting, just like certain past Trump anti-endorsees at the state level, like Dade Phelan? I'm not saying that you would see Cornyn win, but he could. And if you endorse him when you don't even have any polling on the race, and Cornyn goes out there and wins, you're going to deal with him, and he's not going to be your friend. He's a rhino. He does certain things in your favor because he has to, because he's a politician. But if you stab him in the back, but he still wins, it's like you got 6 years of this guy. Trump for 2, Vance for 4. He could, for all you know, you could be dealing with another Collins or Murkowski in a state that voted for Donald Trump by 14 points. You don't want to deal with that. So hopefully Paxton wins. I support Paxton. I want Trump to endorse Paxton when the time comes. I understand why Trump is not ready to jump the gun and support Paxton. I get that, though. So we got 1. We have 9 left to our goal. Really like 6 or 7. John Waffle H2P says, what's your opinion on the new Patriot? I don't have any idea on the new Patriot Act. That's something I'd have to get back to you on that one. I have not looked into it whatsoever. But definitely feel free to send in. Okay, we got another one. American Nerd 17. And by the way, guys, for our goal, even $2 super chats now count towards the end goal, which would be 10. So technically it would be 33 in total. But feel free to send those in so we can hit it officially. American Nerd 1776 says Trump needs to stay out of the tech. And he might stay out of it. And I'd be fine if he stayed out of it. Red Whale Politics for 2 says, why won't Minnesota go red? Is it because you got it? I mean, it's kind of like Dallas, Stowe, Chicago with Illinois. It's not as impactful, but it plays a role. At least Chicago has more demographics, like a lot of Hispanics and younger black voters, which could move right and cause the state to shift more. Whereas Minneapolis is a lot of white liberals, and that's going to be a lot harder to really permeate. So good luck with that. Base Cat says, will Chank's head explode again if AOC loses the prime? Oh, I'd love for that to happen. He says just like when Bernie lost, polls show Dems want their party more. And that was another thing. Like only 14% say go moderate. The rest say stay the same. It's like I don't get it. You want to go more far left and see what happens? I mean, you're getting the party of Redditors, the party of please, if they want to go down that road, please go down that road. I beg of you, Democrats, if you want to make this channel very profitable in the years to come, because most people will enjoy laughing at you and watching on election nights as you lose from the right-leaning perspective, please keep going down that road. I mean, I seriously. Especially because the country's moving to the right. So what are the Democrats doing? Thinking of moving to the left? That's not something you do. That is not something you do if you want to compete and if you want to win. American Nerd 1776 says boomers are the reason Dems are relevant. Well, the boomers are more moderate anyways. So the boomers are like the stay the same type of people in the poll because they're like, oh, it's fine. The house is not on fire. The younger Democrats are insane people who are the NPCs, the bug men, the whatever you want to call them, whatever internet term you want to use. Those are the type of people that the Democrats are leading in the direction of. And if they keep going down that road, they're going to keep losing and keep throwing a temper tantrum and calling their opponents all the names in the book, whatever you want to say. I mean, they made the most unhinged campaign in the history of the country in 2024, and they got their ass handed to them. Their closing argument was Puerto Rico's a paradise, and this comedian is bad for telling a joke about it. And now what happens today? Puerto Rico is power outage central. And I like Puerto Rico. And Puerto Ricans helped Trump win the popular vote almost single-handedly if you look at the math and the data. They at least played a major role in it. But it's like, I mean, this is not the hill to die on. And Puerto Ricans saw it and they didn't agree with you. What the hell does it make you think the average American should feel that way? So you do the math on that one. But they can cope all the way to the bank about it. Please do so. Like, I'm not trying to be complacent. I know how, like, midterm elections go. I know how special elections go. They're not our friends. But, like, the main stage, when it's set for the presidential elections, if Democrats don't have a massive rebrand or reboot, it doesn't even matter if you have a 4-year-long recession, which I don't want and is not going to happen. It's still going to be a tight race. It might take something like that for them to compete. Red whale politics is want to go more crazy. It's going to be a red renaissance. Well, I mean, the people that say this can't happen, like, I know we were less polarized back then, but we saw it from like 1928 to 1950 something or somewhere in that ballpark, 32 to 52, where it was just only Dem victories. And of course, you had the Great Depression, you had wartime. And then you've also had the opposite in the late 1800s where you had Republican dominance. So this is how things go. I mean, it can happen. Tell me how the Democrats are going to win an election in the 2030s. Like, they'd have to run the table. It could happen, but they would have to run the table. Because if Republicans keep North Carolina and Arizona and Nevada, just anyways, if they can win Pennsylvania, which is moving in their column, they can't lose. I'm not saying it's going to be that way in 28, but Laza92 says, which member of Trump's cabinet has exceeded your expectations the most and why? And who among them is disappointed? I mean, Pam Bondi could do better. I mean, I know it's early. I'm not going to like get on the case of, oh, well, you know, she needs to like be fired tomorrow or Trump is not doing his job. I'm not going to do that. But I will say that I'd like her to do more. As for who's exceeded the expectations the most, I think it probably would be Rubio. And I've always had high hopes for him. But I think a lot of other people are saying, yeah, the guy's competent. He's not some pushover. He's like adopting stances politically that Trump wouldn't even touch in 2016 on some things, if that puts it in perspective. I like him a lot. I always thought he had potential, but he's kind of like a blow the way the wind does kind of guy. But he's done a great job, and people were mad when Trump was considering him for VP. I was like, he'd be a great choice. Obviously, he went with Vance, and I think Vance was the better choice. But I was like, okay, That means Rubio is at Secretary of State if Vance is VP. Now, maybe there's pros to that, there's cons to that. I've seen nothing but the pros. I haven't seen really any cons of it. So I'm really happy about Trump's selection with him. So much so to the point where if he's going to be like Vance's VP in 28, I'd say good choice. Especially because I think he'd help with Hispanic voters that Vance might need to connect to and may not have like the Trump effect going for him in that department, but Rubio could help smooth out the image for 2028. But he's done a great job. I have no complaints about that. American Nerd 1776 says, will there be a deal with Iran soon? I'd hope so. Look, that's the thing. You had so many people. I call them the retard right, which is not politically correct. So from, monetization purposes, R-word right. The J Spurgs, the Israel derangement syndrome. Oh, Trump's going to start a war with Iran. Yeah, now he wants a deal, which has always been what Trump's about. It's peace, which would benefit everybody. Iran used to be a beautiful place. It has great potential. My grandmother was born there. It was a paradise back there in the 1930s. This is definitely a place where it's been overran. You have like radical Islamists coming in. The place is a big mess now. It's a war zone. They're funding terror groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, all sorts of terror. And it's a very sad thing. The last thing I think we'd need is a regime change war there, because we've seen it with Iraq. Didn't work out too well. Didn't work out wherever we've done it. They think it's magically going to work out in Iran. It's not. And Netanyahu might want one. Trump is standing up to him and saying, no, I don't want one. And we're told that Trump is he's controlled by Netanyahu. He's because he pulled out the chair for him or something. It's like he did the same thing with Modi. He does the same thing with a lot of people. How dare Trump be gracious to people? Because, we have to have derangement syndrome. It's like, that's not how it works. It's not how politics works. You have a bunch of people who act like emotional children. They think they know more than the president of the United States does on certain things because they know a lot of half-truths that they hear from stupid people. And then they throw them at you like they're Pokemon cards, thinking they're doing something. And it's not how it works. It's not, they don't understand nuance. They probably think it's like an Israeli creation or something. And it's like, it's not. Donald Trump knows what he's doing. He wants, ideally, peace with Iran. I think there's some people on the right who do want war. I'm not saying there's not. Maybe even a couple people in his own administration. But overall, it's like, people freaking out because he strike back the Houthis. And it's like they're attacking our own ships of Americans. I hate we're there. Biden put us there. I don't like the fact we're there. But if you're there and you're getting hit and we strike back and you expect me to say that this is like a anti-America first type of thing. It's like, I don't think we should be there. I think we should look for a way to get out of there as soon as we can. But it's like, if you're there and you're getting struck down, you have to do something about it and not be like a total pushover. Like, that's not strength. That's stupidity. American Nerd 1776 is what policy think Trump should do more of soon. Mass deportations are crucial, which there was a report today. They want to take the budget of ICE and not just double it, not just triple it, but 19 times the budget of ICE. Make it from 9 to like 175. It was an insane increase in terms of the billions of dollars they'd be getting. It's like, please use some of that on a wall. Other border things, make sure you could track down illegals. There's so many people freaking out about this Real ID thing, where it's like you need citizenship, and it's like a lot of for a Real ID, or at least like proof of residency, whereas illegals can get driver's licenses from their states. And so many people are freaking out about it. It's like half these people, if they looked at their driver's license, they would have it. It's like, what do you think? Are you going to be one of these libertarians that was like booing Gary Johnson at their convention in 2016 because he said he was okay with driver's licenses? Is this what we're doing? Like, it's like I see like Thomas Massey is like the usual suspects. But even like Ron, I like Ron Paul, by the way, but he posted something about it. And it's just like, this is not the hill to die on. There's plenty of actual overreaches that the government can do. Real IDs are not a problem because you have a star on your driver's license. You're going to freak out about that. It's a very online thought that people have, just like a lot of these other things. And put them in another category of the R word, right? Put him somewhere. Not Ron Paul specifically. He's done a lot of great things over the years, but just the whole argument. Red Whale Politics says, I will die for sure. Okay, well, I mean, I get your trolling, but it's like people actually think that's going to happen. They think that, Trump was going to cause a war with Iran because Netanyahu wants him to. It's like Trump is his own man. He knows Netanyahu is somebody who's not even that popular in Israel. Of course, you'll have a lot of people that will sit here and say that Israel is a monolith and all Israelis think the same and happen to like have this collective subversion of the U.S. It's a very lowbrow, low IQ type of mindset, in my opinion. It's just very generalization type of thing that these people do. And it's just like there's so many holes in their logic. It's like they will question everything, but it's like a multiple choice question, but every single multiple choice answer is the same thing. It's like when the whole JFK files dropped, and they happen to think that, because JFK criticized Israel once, that Israel was behind it, despite the fact that like Joe Biden and Obama have criticized Israel far more than JFK did, despite the fact that JFK is somebody who lifted the arms embargo with Israel that Eisenhower had, because Eisenhower was probably one of the more anti or less pro-Israel presidents of the time. It's like these people were just searching through and would find any reference to Israel from like 10 years prior, unrelated. They'll be like, this is proof of it. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, first of all, JFK was LBJ going the speed limit. We're going to get that out of the way first. But it's like, this is not proof of anything. They redacted. It's like they redacted every foreign intelligence agency. You point to one, you don't point to the other, because it's a grift. It's a grift, and it's probably being promoted by some financial entity somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's annoying. These people are annoying. And of course, and there's another side to it, because then you have the anti-questioner people, and a lot of them are insufferable. Like, I saw Douglas Murray I saw clips of him on what's it called? Rogan, and he's debating Dave Smith, who's Jewish, by the way. And I don't agree with Dave Smith on everything, but it's like the way he comes off in his arguments it contradicts statements that he's made in the past, and he just comes off insufferable. So I think there's dumb people on both sides of the whole debate. And I like both. I mean, there's things that Smith has said and Murray has said over the years that I like. I mean, I've one of Murray's books and have listened to some monologues of Smith, and he's made a lot of sense on a lot of different topics. But it's like, a lot of these people on both sides of this argument are just, they miss the point. They don't understand nuance. And this is why you have like this Twitter divide, and it makes Twitter unusable sometimes because you have a lot of insufferable people on a lot of corners of the internet saying stupid things and thinking they know everything, and they don't. But it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. It's like, whatever. So let's see. We hit our goal, by the way. Orange Space Monkey says, what do you think about Vance's chances becoming president? Well, if the Democrats keep imploding, I think it's high. I'm not just saying that to say it. I think it's true. Red Whale Politics says, what's your opinion on, let me see this here. I had to refresh. On the Proud, well, it's like, he's got to be baiting with something with that one, but it's like, I don't know. It's definitely a group of people that has been controversial over the years. And are they all what the media says? No, but it's come to the point where they've been distanced from themselves by their own founder. So I can't say anything too positive, but it's like whatever. A lot of people in chat saying Douglas Murray destroyed Dave's. I think on some topics he got the upper hand, from what I could tell. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying when it comes to some things like, you can't have an opinion unless you've been to a country, like that's a stupid argument to make. Because there's clips of Douglas Murray saying that some of the best accounts of certain historical events have been from people who have never encountered them, and they were better than the accounts of the people encountering them themselves. So how can you kind of square that together? You know, you can't, like, I think you can address things head on, and there were things that Murray addressed head on, and when he did that, he had the upper hand. I'm just saying, you can't, when you're arguing with people that have opinions that you find objectionable or you disagree with, you can't come off as insufferable. You can't come off as somebody who is like the hall monitor, because you're coming off like the same system that we all know is broken. That's why we're here. That's why we're involved in politics. But you can't come off the same way as the people who we're trying to oppose either. And that goes for either side of the argument. You know, you have stupid people on one side of the whole, like, oh, we're going to question, but it's actually just, you know, we're just using that, and it's a multiple choice question, and all the answers relate to Israel or whatever. And then you have the other people who, some of which just try to like gatekeep too much, support censorship, and the people that censor are never on the right side of history. I'm not saying that that's exactly what Murray was doing in the debate. I'm just saying that there's plenty of examples you could point to that fit in that category, and it's not addressing the claims head on. Like somebody like Charlie Kirk, like you see him, and you have these people asking him questions about, you know, certain history, Israel, whatever, you know, and he'll just address it head on. He'll explain what certain groups of people believe, and he'll explain what other groups of people believe, and he'll hit you with the facts of the matter. You know, that's different. You know, that's something that if people did that more, then you'd actually kind of, I guess you would say, have this open playing field of ideas that would be oriented in a more productive manner. Because it's true, you know, you have free speech on social media now. It's a great thing, but it's also has allowed stupid people to say stupid things on both sides of arguments. But mainly it has been the right that's been censored. But it's a net positive you have everybody in the same playing field. But when you do this, it's going to take a while for everything to even out when it comes to ideas. And we can debate and we can kick things back and forth off each other. And it's productive and it's necessary. And you're going to need to do that. You can't, I don't think name calling, censoring, trying to shut down debate with appeal to authority fallacies is going to be the way to do that. And if you think I'm a horrible person for saying that, then you're the problem on any side of the debate, of any side of any debate, really. And I'm just going to leave it with that because I think that's just common sense. Red Whale Politics says it's a general question. Well, I answered it the correct way. So there we go. Let's see. Someone says Arab oil. It could be. It could be. Like, I don't like, I get a lot of people that say, you know, if I say one thing, because I've seen both sides. Because Tucker Carlson will say, I don't want war with Iran. And he's somebody that a lot of people will attack mercilessly and say he's owned by Qatar because he doesn't want war with Iran. And I think that that's, even if he is getting money from some person, that's just an objectively good opinion to have as somebody who knows a lot about foreign policy. You know, I don't like Iran, but we don't want war with them. We shouldn't want war with them at all. But then you have like people that will say, because I think that Trump is not controlled by Netanyahu, that they'll say you're owned by Israel, or because I expressed an opinion that is common sense when you look into the nuances and the facts of something, they'll say that it's like an Israeli thing. They have to be like paying you somehow. Both of those arguments I think are stupid and unproductive. But is there like, when you look at some like rise of like discourse after what we saw with like 10/7, where you have a lot of like the anti-Israel stuff becomes trendy. Is it possible that there are like backers, financial backers in like Qatar, Kuwait? I don't really know what side Kuwait is on about the whole thing, but some of these like Gulf states, yeah, it's possible there are. But it doesn't mean every opinion on either side of the argument is because it has to be influenced by money or whatever. Not every idea is going to be backed by money. But Purple Potato says, when do you think Clarence Thomas will retire? And if Obergefell v. Hodges gets overturned, would it resurrect the Democrat? And no, it would not. Because think of it. It's already partially codified into law. I'm not particularly happy about that, but that bill did pass and Biden signed it. So Democrats did kind of kneecap themselves in that front, but also 48 out of 50 states would probably have it legal anyways. The others would probably still have civil unions to the point where it's not going to make an impact. People don't care about it as much as they care about abortion. As for Clarence Thomas, he should retire in like 2027. Democrats are not retaking the Senate. There's time. He has time to leave a legacy behind in the Trump era, the second Trump era, and he can go peacefully retire. Same thing with Alito. John Waffle H2P says, do you think America is Christianity as Israel is Jewish and Palestine is Islam? Well, I think it's a Christian nation. It's founded by mainly Christians, Christian values. You have John Adams coming out and saying about the Constitution, it's written for a moral or religious people. You don't have that anymore. And I think God belongs in the public square. Mainly Christianity belongs in the public square. Whereas, you had that 50, 60 years ago. You had crosses in the public eye. You had plenty of Christian displays. Everyone's seen the New York skyline with the crosses in the buildings at night in the 1950s. And we don't have that anymore, and I would like to have it back. And I think it doesn't really matter what religion you are, what beliefs you may have, even what denomination of Christianity you may be, that ultimately God belongs in the public square. This is a Christian nation, and we should be unapologetic about it in the public eye. So many people believe that freedom of religion means freedom from religion, which just basically leads to state-mandated atheism, which has been something that's been very common and prevalent in communist regimes. And that is not something I support, and I think it's harmful. Even the guy in Belarus who's like a dictator, and this isn't something politicians would ever really say, but he's like, I'm an Orthodox atheist. He's like, yeah, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in Christianity, but I realize that for the sake of social cohesion, it's important to promote the traditions of the church or whatever. And obviously, I would hope that he would come to Christ. I would hope that he would go back to his faith. But it is an interesting statement that he made, the leader of Belarus, because it was a very honest statement. You don't really have anything to gain if you're already doing the traditions. Just saying something like that, at least it's honest. Doesn't mean that it's spiritually sound, but it's like even people like that can understand that we need God in the public square. You can't replace God with state-mandated atheism. That's what the left has done. It's virtually impossible to be a Christian and be on the left. I mean, it's not. Some people will say it, but it's like a lot of the liberal Christianity is just Satanism wearing a cross, wearing a crucifix in many, if not all cases. And I think that's a problem. Now, in terms of how we go about our messaging and on elections and stuff, I think that it's important to be careful in certain places where the electorate might be more secular. But I don't think there's anything wrong with we have to promote and put God back in the public square. I think that is something that will win in the long run. Obviously, if our country is to survive. So it's a loaded question because you do have freedom of religion, but at the same time, it's not freedom from religion. And I think culturally, we're a majority. We are a majority Christian nation. Not everybody is Christian, but that is the majority. The majority should be respected in general. And I say this as somebody who is of a sector of Christianity that is very, very niche, extraordinarily niche. I understand that, and some people in chat, they could bicker about it all they want, but it's like, we're largely even a Protestant nation, which I'm not a fan of Protestantism personally, but I know a lot of people that watch me are, and, a big segment of them are Catholics as well, but as like an Oriental Orthodox, it's like, I understand my specific sect is not going to be the mainstream sect. in this country. But still, I think that there needs to be a generic promotion of Christianity. It's also why I tend to celebrate the holidays on the, Catholic/Protestant calendar, which this year it's all the same, which is good. And you love to see it. I mean, everybody has the same Easter, which is this Sunday. So there's that. But let's see. I hit the goal, so we'll read regular chat for a few minutes, and then we'll cap off the stream. But it's been a good one, guys. It really has. But yeah, a lot of people. Oh man, this primary poll is just absurd. Red Whale Politics, thank you for the blank one. Isn't Greek Easter a different? Well, not this year. No, it's not. And there's another thing, because Armenian Orthodoxy is probably closer in theology to like Eastern Catholicism than it is to other forms of Orthodoxy. In fact, it's near identical. They're just not in communion with Rome. Evan G says, hey, Red Eagle, been a fan and following you throughout the 2024 cycle. Thoughts on the Canadian election? You hear about the... Yeah, I think the third term stuff is a funny thing to think about, but I don't think it's feasible. But the Canada, yeah, Liberals, they're probably going to win. Canada does not want their country. Part of it is because Trudeau dropped out. Part of it is because Trump derangement syndrome, and it's largely from the older generations. And Pierre should attack the left more than he attacks Trump. I'm not saying that Trump is popular in Canada, but it's like the messaging has not dominated the narrative because of that. And it's kind of leading to his downfall. So JT Toon says, what can we do about the Amy Coney Barrett situation? Well, unless you want to pack the court, there's nothing you can do, which I'm open to the idea of it, or at least threatening it. Because look, Trump's the thing is like, oh, he'll be called a dictator. He's called a dictator. They call him Hitler. They call him all the names in the book. He's Putin. He's obviously just a mere threat to packing the court will cause these people, it'll cause Roberts to just shit bricks. And it's like, why not even just dare to say that? Just dare to say it. You don't have to do it. Just say it. Ash K2 says, if Lombardo loses, I will cry. Current Nevada governor's margin. I think he'll win by upper single digits. Incumbent governors that are popular never lose, ever. That's Rep's rule. If you're an incumbent governor and you lose, you have to be either first of all, you have to be underwater in some form, and B, the opposition has to be strong. So Sisolak was like the perfect storm. Even then, he barely lost. And Nevada is much more right-leaning than the last time he ran, which is why I think we got a good shot in Arizona, too, this time. So Tony Evers, well, maybe there'll be an announcement on that sometime this summer. We'll see. Just a teaser. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I've heard stuff. I've heard things, and we'll see what we can do. Michael in NC1 says, how about Bernie and the bartender in California shouting oligarchy when the Dem party's the oligarchy running out the middle class? Exactly. They say the 1%. Well, the 1% votes for you. You're the 99%. No. I mean, he's talking about government workers being laid off. Most people are not government workers. Are these people? Yeah, but a lot of the times they have jobs that they don't need to be working in, and we're wasting taxpayer money of the majority on that 1%. So these are the people that are trying to prop up the 1%. They're just the 1% of, I don't even know how you find these people. Craigslist or something? The Craigslist Americans? like the lowest of the low, but they're not even like lowest of the low in terms of like the working poor. These are lowest of the low in terms of like the societal rejects, basically. Try to be nice about it, but it's like, no, they're the Craigslist American. You know them when you see them, folks. You know them when you see them. I'm telling you. Red Whale Politics is hopefully Dems keep crying racist as they keep losing with minority voters. Yeah. Let's see. Packing the courts. Well, it is a terrible idea. I agree. The problem is that even if you use it as a mere bargaining tool, just like 120% tariff, which many people will say is a very bad idea, it could lead to something positive. The bottom line is the left will do it. The right won't even dare to even talk about things like getting rid of the filibuster or packing the court. We always complain when the left does it, but we never even think about doing it ourselves or even just saying the words ourselves. That's what I'm trying to say is you have too many toothless people on the right that don't know what the hell they're doing. Thoughts on David Hogg? We covered that earlier a little bit. I want him to waste their money. Please do it. Purple Potato says, why didn't Youngkin try to change the one-term rule? I don't think anybody wants to because it'll make them look like this is the opposite thing, or it's kind of, I guess, along the same lines. But at least it's never really been raised because people don't want to say, oh, like he'll be just vying for power or re-election, because usually you would win re-election. But he'll probably run again and win again in 2029. He's popular, despite associating with Trump in a state that had, voted against Trump by like 6. Redwell Politics for 5 says, hopefully here in Michigan, the state GOP will get their act together after the 26 midterms if we win. Yeah, hopefully. I hope they do. I really do. It is a great state, a lot of great people. Not a lot of people moving up there, but again, that's something that could be exploited as an attack on the current leadership, if anything. So, yeah, Whitmer is a joke. But Whitmer's actually not the worst of them. I mean, there's plenty. There's like the attorney general is awful. Slotkin is a disgrace. I mean, people think she's some moderate. I'm like, seriously? Like, these people think that she's some moderate. Like there's little known tidbits out there. If you do a little bit of research, we don't have to bring it up. We'll take the high road. But it's like, what we do know is she's on video doxing the dogs of the people that are like the political operatives of the Republicans. And then those people happen to mysteriously, the rest. And it's like, this is public information. But this doesn't, like, they don't even have the balls to touch that topic. But it's like you could draw the lines so easily, and they don't want to touch it. Like, what is wrong with these people? Like, the Republicans, look, like, they've gotten better. They've gotten a lot better, but there's a lot of flaws with these people. They don't have the teeth. If they could find their teeth and learn how to bite, I mean, the world would be a much better place, but hopefully they will. Because the left, they've got the claws out. We're just like bracing ourselves for them to beat us. It's like, where is our fight? What do we do? We never set the narrative. We never dominate the narrative. We just want to whine about what the other side does. That's kind of the issue. And that's why they have the power in the media. Obviously, it's changed because of social media, and I think Elon's done a great job leveling the playing field. But even then, it's like so many people are like, we don't want to have our George Soros. It's like we complain about Soros. It's like, yeah, but the problem with Soros isn't that he has money. The problem with Soros is that he is evil. He's a globalist. He supports open societies. He supports social Marxism, and he is buying elections of people that believe what he believes. Whereas Elon Musk is somebody who is trying to do the opposite. And obviously, I think that the way he did Wisconsin was a little bit poorly timed and it backfired. But at least you have somebody who's willing to engage in the fight. And hopefully he could take that to the primaries as well. Because if he does that in the primaries and selects solid people, this Republican Party overnight is going to be changed. Because who has the money in the room has the power in the room. Will North Carolina's Supreme Court race be overturned? It's possible. You need to get out and work for the Republican National Committee. See, just this stream alone would probably give these people enough reasons to say he shouldn't work because he says off-color things. It's like, I'm a commentator. I get it. I think that there are plenty of people that are capable. I think I'd be capable to work in some form doing something, but it's like as a commentator, I kind of do a little bit of both, and I still maintain the edge of, because not everybody can say what I can say. Not that I say anything like too controversial, but it's like just even like critiquing the state of the Republican Party is enough for so many people to say, oh, he's just brush it off if they're a part of the system. It's not fair, but that's the way it is. I think overturning the Supreme Court race in North Carolina. Well, I disagree because, I mean, how many months of counting did they go through? And it's a 9-vote margin. Plenty of these votes are possibly invalid. I think it should be overturned if that's the case, depending on how those votes would have gone. But let's see. Do I think Trump can get a... Well, if he wants a third term, here's what he would have to do, which I'm not saying would be feasible. I don't think he would do it. But if he resigned the 19th of January 2027, made Vance president, and then he would run with Vance's VP for 2028, so he'd take 2 years off and start campaigning again and let Vance run the country, it could work because then he would have, he would have the time. But it's like the guy's going to be 86 by the end of his third term, hypothetically, to the point where I don't think that he would do that necessarily, but it would be constitutional if he did that, because it's, you could be elected 3 times, you just can't serve 3 full terms. So I guess that is the loophole, and what Vance would run in 2032. Like, it could happen, but it's not that feasible. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been live for almost 2 hours, but it's been a great stream. Make sure you guys like the stream before you guys go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.